program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this.
Say what? Get with the program.
It starts now.
Hello, welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. Get With The Program Radio Show is a multicultural, informative, relevant, and entertaining 1-hour weekly show offering you a combination of diverse interviews with questions and comments. And as always, we will act as a positive source of information. Now listen, if you want to be a guest on this show, all you have to do is log into www.getwiththeprogram.biz, shoot me an email, leave me a message. You never know, you may have a conversation that we would love to talk about. Or you can give me a call at 919-255-2757. Again, the number is 919-255-2757. Or shoot me an email, GaryJones16@yahoo.com. Again, the email address is GaryJones16@yahoo.com. Now listen, today we will be joined in the studio with Miss Alice Nelson. Now, Miss Nelson is a third-generation licensed school administrator, K-6 elementary and K-12 education general curriculum teacher with a passion for seeing all kids develop into their highest potential. She is also the CEO and founder of Little Makers Academy, located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Today, our topic is the importance of early childhood development. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of other good things too, but that's just what we're going to start off with in the beginnings. Fortunately, we have her right. Hello, Miss Nelson, and welcome to Get With The Program Radio Show.
Hey, good morning. So happy to be here and happy to discuss, the most prized, important part of our future, which is the little ones, as they're going to pave the way for the future.
That's right. They are the future. You're absolutely right. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Miss Nelson. Where are you from and what's going on with you?
Well, I'm very happy to say I was born in Miami, Florida. So I'm originally from Florida. My family's Haitian. So they came here. Father was an immigration attorney. Mother was a teacher, or still is a teacher. But yes, come from a strong education background. I know the importance and the value of education. Came to North Carolina in 2006, graduated from A&T.
Aggie, what do they say? What they call it? Aggie pride?
Aggie born, Aggie bred, and when I die, I'll be Aggie dead.
I hadn't heard of that one. When I die, I'll be Aggie dead. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah,
yes.
Wow.
But, really at A&T, I got, I really saw the importance of going back into, sometimes inner city schools or helping kids that they might say are at risk or left behind, and just helping them realize their fullest potential. Which
is very important for our youth today because, we notice kids are at the youth, at risk when they're young. We have to right away recognize that and attack that right away before it gets too far out of hand. Mm-hmm. And they have this study now I had read some years ago about when children are 3 years old and going up into the age that they're able to now so-called to be able to say that they can kind of predict where this particular child is going to go in life. I know you've heard of that.
I certainly have, yes. Unfortunately, there's been lots of research on the preschool to prison pipeline and how it, it at a large amount affects, indiscriminately affects minority youth the most, unfortunately.
Wow. So tell me about your organization, the organization, your Little Makers Academy. Tell me about that. Little Makers Academy
is a child care center located, located at 2801 South Wilmington Street here in Raleigh, 27603 zip code. We serve kids 6 weeks to 12 years of age. We have we're very nurturing, caring. The kids get to participate in yoga and mindfulness activities, meditation, art, math and science. And we're also opening up a drop-in center in the fall of this year, which will be in the new Gateway Plaza near Crabtree Boulevard,
and
not far from the Salvation Army.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Wonderful. Yes. Wow. So it sounds like you have big plans.
Yes. I really would like to see more organizations provide childcare for their employees is my ultimate goal. Opening up a standalone childcare center, that's easy, but seeing corporations and employers, care about the well-being of their employees is really my goal by helping them set up those services.
Interesting. So what made you choose this profession? Because everybody has a motive behind their careers, and particularly this one, because we're talking about children. So what made you choose this direction?
Well, I remember the first childcare I went to when I was in Florida was Small Fries. And, you remember those memories, even though I was only like 2-3 years old. I remember how it felt to have a preschool teacher that really cared, when something was going on with me. And, and just coming from the background of education, I know how important it is to get kids, active and learning at an early age. Mm-hmm. So just those memories and the education and me being brought up in a family of like educators, prompted me once I started teaching. I wanted to be able to make a difference on a larger level.
So did you come from a large family?
Well, considering that we were immigrants, there's a lot of family connected, but we're kind of all over the map. A lot of family in different places. Mm-hmm. But yes.
I've noticed kids can be tough for some people to balance work. As you mentioned, you trying to work along with organizations, but kids can be tough for some people to balance with work, family, and home. Now, what are some of the stressful moments for you to balance home and work? Because I know you have your business, you have family. What are some of the stressful moments for you?
Well, I would say I think it was harder when I was working as a school teacher, because you have to leave the house, maybe by 6:30 in the morning, and the other person's, now you have 2-parent households where you're both working, or it might just be a 1-parent household where one person is working, and so you're scrambling, trying to get the kids ready in the morning and trying to get everything together, run out the door, drop them at daycare, then go to work, and then the daycare calls, they need something, you got to go back to the daycare, then back at work. It's just I felt like a lot of running around before I opened up my child care center.
Wow. So there are some stressful moments then. When people are going into this profession, they must be strong and be aware that you will run into roadblocks, perhaps.
Definitely there's stressful with the profession, but I feel like it's stressful for any family that has young children and having to provide, find out good child care options for their child.
Child care is a very, very serious thing now, because when someone puts their child in the trust of someone else at a child care center, that's very serious. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you see with daycare centers? Some of the biggest challenges, because they're all over now, and the cost factor is one other thing, but what are some of the biggest challenges that you see?
I think it's very important to be transparent with the families. One thing that we offer is we do have cameras in all of our classrooms that the parents have access to see what's going on in their child's classroom. I don't feel a child care should, I just feel that should be something that all parents are able to check in on their child and have the extra level of security. And also just be able to put their input when it comes to the well-being and soundness of their child. So we do offer the extra layer of security. Parents are able to communicate with the teachers. I know in previous child cares my children went to before I owned the child care center, there wasn't really any communication with the teacher. We use an app, and so the parents can connect through that app, message the teacher, the administrators, and, receive a response at a fairly good time.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good information, because a lot of parents want to see what their children are doing in these classrooms, particularly with different type of teachers and things of that, because a lot of strange things are going on with some of these daycares and child care centers. What should someone look for when they're selecting a school, for their children at such an early age? Because we're talking about children 3, 4, 5, 6 up. What should, if I want to go look for a school, what do I need to look for?
Well, I would say don't be distracted by all the bells and whistles, Look for, talk to the teachers and find out, what training and education they've had. Find out what procedures are in place, when it comes to safety, nutrition, and emergencies. I would say maybe have the child do like a discovery day. That's something that we offer to kind of test out the classroom and see the child's feedback and reaction as well. It's not really a one shoe fits all. So yeah, just do the research.
Now, is there a place where someone can go and look up a particular school? Is someplace we can look up the credentials of the school or the persons who are working there?
Yes, they can. For public child care, it's posted in the website and at the school.
I mean, is there a governmental website or somewhere where these people are registered where we can see their information?
There is.
Wonderful. That's really important, because I would want to know. If I put my child in, I would definitely want to know. Now, the cost is the cost a big factor for quality care? Because, I mean, what is the average cost for early schooling? Because some people can't afford certain schools.
Yes.
And there's certain programs that pay for certain
Well, the
things.
cost comes in because childcare, like as a private childcare owner, there is no extra help for us having the childcare. We don't get like government funds in the way that an elementary or middle or high school will. And with childcare, you have to have a lot more teachers. Like in an elementary school, you might have one teacher with 20, 25 kids. In an infant classroom, it's one teacher with 3 or 4 kids. So a lot of the expense goes to paying for higher quality teachers. The more expensive it is, the more you're able to attract teachers that might have a degree or have more experience and a little bit more training and professionalism. But the cost is an issue, which is why I feel employers and corporations should help, by having childcare on site. SAS is an organization in Cary. They provide childcare for their employees, and it's incentivized through tax benefits and deductions. So that's a conversation I would like to see move forward, in that seeing corporations provide childcare for their employees. I don't understand why other large companies where we're the tech hub, RTP, we have wonderful, great pharmaceutical companies, tech companies. These companies want to retain their employees and attract talent. I'm a big firm believer in, hey, why not look at options to set up a childcare at your company?
So what are your goals right now? Because it sounds like you just made some good points about organizations setting up programs like this. You'd like to see that happen more.
Yes, I would certainly love to partner with organizations to help them set up childcare on site for their employees. And there's information on that on our website at littlemakersacademy.com.
So how would someone go about that? I mean, if, you saying partnering with an organization, you perhaps saying that you would like to partner with them so they can have their employees to
help set up a childcare space on site for them.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, that's great. Okay, now I see what you're saying. Okay. So with that being said, what is the average cost right now for early schooling? What is the cost that you know?
It ranges. For high quality childcare, it could be anywhere from $175 a week to $300 a week or more.
That's not too bad, because there's some places now. Does it varies in states? Perhaps up north, would it be more?
Yes, it kind of goes with the cost of living and the living wages of that area as well. But parents, keep in mind those funds go to paying for highly qualified teachers, nutritional meals, toys, repairs, field trips, activities, and of the sort.
I know there's a lot of challenges. We did speak about the challenges, and because with any business, with anything that we do in the world, for us entrepreneurs such as yourself, there's always going to be some challenges. So people do a SWOT analysis to make sure that they understand what they're facing. But what are some of the challenges you face with parents and guardians when you're dealing with their children? What are some of the challenges you may face with the parents?
Surprisingly enough, I would say our largest challenges are not necessarily the parents. A lot of parents, they just want what's best for their child. Some teachers don't really care to work at a child care center where there is cameras, because sometimes the parents will, call and say, oh, I don't see my child. Oh, ma'am, it's okay. Your child's just in the restroom or is outside playing, so they might, be checking, or watching on time. But, the parents, as a parent myself, I know that the parents just want a safe, fun, educational place for their child to grow and learn. And so that has not been the largest stumbling block, has not been parents.
What would be your stumbling block?
Probably all of the rules and regulations that are put on childcare by the division.
So I find that I remember noticing that some parents put their kids in daycare centers just to get rid of them. I mean, some want to just get rid of them, and some put them in there to learn. What do you see the most?
I just see parents that are trying to provide for their families, that are pursuing their goals and their careers, and they, bring their child to childcare. So at that young age, you want them to have fun and learn while they're having fun. Every now and then, you do have some parents that don't work that might get a subsidy and drop their child off. Maybe they're looking for a job, or you know.
Now, just like any place in the world, what about kids with disability concerns? Do you have kids that come to your facility that may have some disability concerns?
Oh, certainly. And you know what? We love those kids like all the other kids. We want those kids to be mainstreamed with maybe regular education students, because kids need to learn those soft skills of empathy and learning and getting along with a child that might be on the autism spectrum or might have cerebral palsy. And so we use that as a teachable moment for all the students. Like, despite our differences, we're all going to play and learn together.
Now, right here in the Raleigh, North Carolina location where we are airing the show now, where we're broadcasting the show here and recording it as well, with the growing population in Raleigh, North Carolina, I actually took this from your website. With the growing population increasing in Raleigh, North Carolina, where are we now, and what challenges do you see with the waiting list for entering school programs? Because Raleigh is flooded. I mean, we got 60 to 80 people moving in Raleigh, North Carolina daily.
Every day. Mm-hmm.
So where do you see the challenge for the waiting list? Because some schools you can't get in because they're flooded.
Yeah, there's a waiting list at our school as well, too. Yes, there is a shortage when it comes to access to funds for parents that are pursuing getting some governmental assistance for childcare. You know, a lot of them are going on waiting lists for months to years at a time to be able to provide their child high-quality childcare. And there is a limitation on childcare centers that are able to accommodate the kids that are coming in. There especially is space for niche child cares. You know, example for child care is for maybe just infants or nurseries or children with specific needs. And again, my answer to that is more employers providing on-site child care for their employees. You know, for example, there's hospitals here where you have, you know, staff working 24/7. There isn't really child care that's open to accommodate people that might work second or third shift. So that's another thing that I think is really missing in this area.
That's a good observation, because third shift childcare is needed.
It is very much needed, and it's virtually non-existent.
So do you offer that as well?
Not at this time, because we didn't have as many, you know, people looking for enrollment for third shift. However, you know, I have spoke with different hospital boards and things of that nature to see if we could, you know, help with arranging or setting up, you know, those hours and services.
You know, I had never thought of that until you mentioned it. That is a good idea, because we talking second and third shift. Everybody looks at the first shift, but that second and third shift people, they work as well. You know, so that's very, very important. Now, some people I notice, Alice, some people choose to keep their child home for schooling. Is that a good idea to keep your child from at home to teach from daycares, or do you think it's better to be connected with other
I mean,
other
I
children?
respect every parent's personal choice and decisions that they make for their own reasons. You know, I do see there's lots of benefits to early socialization of children, especially in an age where more and more things are happening virtually and online and through technology. Those soft skills, being able to communicate, share, play, read expressions from someone's face, and take different cues are very important. And those are skills that a child can pick up and learn in child care setting.
So, in relation to the African American community, do you find that early child care is needed a lot? Because you mentioned soft skills, which are very, very important. And some people choose not to put their children in schools early. And then we have some people that start, with technology nowadays, kids have the phones, they have math programs, they have all type of things on their computers. They're starting early now. So you think that's a good idea?
For the African American community?
Yes.
Most definitely. I feel like it gives those children a head start. Unfortunately, you know, when I used to teach in High Point, and I taught, I remember going into the kindergarten classroom. I was a third grade teacher at the time. And I went into the kindergarten classroom on the first day of school, and that teacher had the kids' names on their desk, and the kids were supposed to come in and find their desk. And I would say 3/4 of the class couldn't find their desk. They couldn't read, at 5 years old, they couldn't read their name off of the desk. And, you know, and also when doing this, when the teacher did the survey of that class, she found that most of those kids did not go to preschool, that they did stay home or stay with a friend. And, that's definitely something that they would have learned, letter recognition, and definitely know their name before going into kindergarten if they were in a quality early childhood program. So I definitely, that was just mind-blowing and shocking to me to see kids starting school and what a big disadvantage they are. You have those 5 kids that know their name. You have one kid or one or two kids that knows how to read, which is my goal with my children that graduate from my early childhood programs. And then you have about 14, 15 kids that can't even recognize their name. So when they say you see the trajectory of where those kids are going to go, the 1 or 2 that know how to read, the maybe 4 that know their name, and then all the other ones that don't know their name, those kids are already starting off behind. And that teacher is having to, instead of pushing kids forward, she's having to go back and remediate and teach them things that they should have learned in preschool.
Wow. Now, in raising a child, I hear people often say it takes both parents. So do you see a different effect when you have one parent raising a child?
I would say family dynamics in 2019 are different.
Okay.
And I would not say that a child is at a disadvantage with just one parent. I see all sorts of families. I just think as long as the child is in a healthy and happy home, that child is in an advantage. Whether it's one parent, whether it's 2 parents, whether it's grandparents, whether it's, just a family that someone might not consider traditional. It just depends on them having a happy and healthy home, and that is a factor that goes towards the success of a child.
Good information. Now, what we're going to do, Ms. Nelson, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I want to touch more on how early should we start really focusing on children getting in school? Because some people say 5, 4, 3, and I mean it's even got earlier than that because they're now putting programs in front of children now and they're learning early. So when we take this break, we're going to come back, we're going to touch that question.
All right, sounds good.
All right,
Thank
listen, don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get With The Program Radio Show. I'm your host, Gary Jones. Be right back after this important message.
1 in 3 adults in America have pre-diabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mom my. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
Hold up.
Get with the program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this.
Say what? Get with the program.
It starts now.
Hello and welcome back to Get With The Program Radio Show. Again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Get With The Program Radio Show is a multicultural, informative, relevant, and entertaining 1-hour weekly show offering you a combination of diverse interviews with questions and comments. And as always, we would like this a positive source of information. Again, if you want to be on the show, log in to www.getwiththeprogram.biz. Shoot me an email, leave me a message. You never know, you may have a conversation that we would love to talk about. Now, today we are joined in the studio with Miss Alice Nelson. Miss Nelson is a 3rd-generation licensed administrator, K-6 elementary and K-12 special education general curriculum teacher with a passion for seeing all kids develop into their highest potential. She is also the CEO and founder of Little Makers Academy located in Raleigh, North Carolina. Today our topic is the importance of early childhood development, which is a very, very important conversation because we have to get these children early. So once again, welcome back, Ms. Nelson, to the show.
All right, thank you. It's wonderful being here, representing Little Makers Academy here in Raleigh. Just supporting the young youth and children so that they can achieve their best.
Now, at your facility, what is your ratio as far as race? You kind of go after all races. You just go after a
very
diverse.
Yeah, certainly very diverse. We have families of all walks of life and teachers as well. from Spanish speaking to, Indian and, all different backgrounds, and try to be accommodating and make it a learning opportunity for the kids to learn about different cultures and things of that nature.
That's wonderful, particularly with the diverse language, because we have a lot of that going. Because I had actually taken Spanish, but I couldn't get Spanish.
Oh, okay.
So
¿Cómo está?
So I see, there we go. See, I wound up taking French though.
Okay.
Like,
Moi parler un petit français.
Well, je m'appelle Gary à toi.
Ooh, okay, muy bien.
Okay,
I said in Spanish.
You're funny. Okay, so before we left, we was going to talk about the how early are children, how early should they start paying attention? How early should we start paying attention to them getting an early start with education and putting them in schools?
How early?
Yes.
Well, Little Makers accepts, we have a nursery, so we accept infants at our school. Yes, there's a nursery at our school. We have two infant rooms. So we have a nursery, and we also have an infant room for kids that are crawling and learning how to walk.
Wow.
At 1 year old, they're learning how to sit at a table and use a spoon and drink out of their cup. 2 years old, we're potty training kids, and so they can come as early as infants.
When I talk to a woman that has an organization such as this, I have a lot of respect, because you have to love children. You have to love children to do something. You have kids, of course, your own. I did say.
Oh yes, I do have 2 girls, 5 and 7. Yeah.
So you have to love children to want to do something like this.
Yeah.
Because children are busy when they're 2 and infants and crying and all that stuff that comes with it. That's a lot.
You have to have a natural instinct to nurture and be patient.
That's right.
But it's also a lot of fun too at times. You can be silly and just dance and play and have fun, because the kids don't judge you.
Wow. Now, what about this is a really a good question, I thought. What about hygiene of the children? Do you ever experience situations where a child is not properly prepared, and how do you deal with that? Because I'm sure those situations can happen.
Well, we certainly teach kids good hygiene practices, and in those instances, we share information with the parents. We encourage the teachers to be professional and share information with the parents to find out. Sometimes it might look like it's hygiene, but it could just be a bad case of psoriasis or eczema that the child has on their skin. Other times it is a situation where the child just needed their hair washed a little bit more intensely, because there's been situations like that as well. And it's just, having a respectful conversation where you're educating parents that sometimes might not know, that sometimes might have disabilities and challenges themselves.
Mm-hmm. What about the young adults who having children? What's the youngest mother or father that you've seen come into your school?
We have high school parents. Yeah, there's high schools that have high schoolers that have children that come to the child care center. Yes.
Wow.
But a lot of times, they have their parent there to help them and support them with picking up the child from child care while the high schooler is at school. Yeah, that's
wow. So that goes back to that old song that was produced by Full Force years ago, called "Babies Having Babies."
Yeah.
Because they're young. And that's a very serious situation.
Yeah, so we do definitely try to give those young parents just more information. A lot of times we'll do, try to get extra experts to help, because a lot of times more interventions might be needed for the child when it comes to speech therapy or occupational therapy. For some reason, there just seems to be a higher incidence of those child sometimes needing a little bit extra services. Mm-hmm. So we do offer that at the child care center as well.
Now, what about how does someone deal with behavior issues? Because, some kids have medication they take, and as far as the health concerns with your physicians, your doctors, and things like that. How do you deal with that?
I was really surprised when we first opened the amount of kids, even in preschool, that are being medicated. I'm more of a natural, holistic type person. So I know medicine's needed, but, we try to find ways such as mindfulness and yoga and using our calm corners to try to regulate behavior. We suggest things like maybe having the child not be on devices and playing games. I feel like it's okay for sometimes the kids to be a little bit bored and not have all of these distractions and things to distract them, because they need to learn how to just be mindful and in the moment at times. So we try to find, obviously as a child care center, we can't medicate, and that's not our choice. It's a parent's choice. So we just try to press, natural ways we can intervene and help children that are dealing with behavioral issues. It could be something needs to be changed nutritionally instead of them, having a high sugar cereal every morning, having, maybe just like a boiled egg and turkey or something, suggesting drinking more water as opposed to sugary drinks. Because, I've seen that too, parents putting soft drinks and stuff in sippy cups and, sometimes just a matter of just educating the parent and letting them know that the nutrition does impact a behavior. And also some of the things that the child is putting into themselves, whether it be videos or games, those are all impacting behavior.
That's very good information, because I've seen parents before, if their child is sleepy or just sitting around, they give them some chocolate, and they say that sugar would definitely speed up the behavior of the child. Have you seen that?
Oh, certainly, yes.
Yeah?
Yes, it's rough, when they're on a lot of sugar and, kind of jumping around. That's why we get our food. We have a lot of farmers market fresh meals that we serve the kids without extra sodium and sugars, to help with that, and a lot of water. So nutrition is important.
Do you think that the private schools are better for educating a child than the public schools? It's just a rhetorical question.
Again, I couldn't put it into two categories. Like I couldn't really call it on that. I just think it just depends on the school. Yeah.
Depends on the school, of
yes,
course.
because I was a public school teacher for, several years. And I feel like the kids that came through my classroom received a great education. So I can't say, private, public, which is better. It just depends on the school district and what the core values are of the school.
And again, also what the teachers are getting paid, because that's another big issue right now, because we're still talking about education and we're talking about teachers. Now, children, we know, and we mentioned this in our conversation, children are the future. We know that. And are teachers getting enough pay for their jobs? You think teachers need to get paid
Teachers
more?
will never get paid enough. I mean, they are saints, I will never say that they're getting paid enough. I'll always say teachers are never getting paid enough. They are, I feel like even if they were just a babysitter, babysitters get paid, more than what a teacher would get paid if you look at it per child. But, teachers are motivating, encouraging. Sometimes they're the nurse. Sometimes they do so much for the child. And so if there's a way to pay teachers more, of course, I'm definitely behind paying teachers more.
Because that's a big thing right now. They say the teachers. So would you think that a lack of pay has an effect on the quality of the teacher or what the teacher is giving?
Not necessarily, because the teachers, when we go into teaching, we already know we're not going to be rich from it. We know that we're not, it's not a profession where you're going to be rich. We just want a wage that's livable. We just want, if we go back to school, as I did, to get a master's degree, for that master's degree to count. Because I got the master's degree while I was teaching, and I did not receive any master's pay or any difference in pay. So, but it made me a more qualified teacher for the fact that I went back to seek more education to be better in my field. So just, recognizing and just giving teachers a certain level of respect.
Which makes a lot of sense. Even in my profession as well, and I did the same thing. And it wasn't about the money, I like what I do, and I like getting information out, giving back to the community. And it sounds like the same thing with you. You have a passion.
Absolutely. You have to love what you do and making sure that it's being done to the best of your abilities.
So to my listeners, you're hearing it from the CEO and founder and owner, Miss Alice Nelson. She has a passion for this. So, I think having a passion for it and not really focusing so much on the high dollar. God has a way of making things happen. When you have a passion and you're giving back, money will come if that's what you're looking for.
Exactly.
That will come. So to my listeners, it sounds like this is somewhere where I would want to put my kids at.
Yes, and we would love to have them. We have some of the cutest kids in Raleigh. Just the kids are just so wonderful, and it is just, you really feel like you're making a difference when you're working with little kids. So we'd love to have the children, and we'd also love to have more people involved working with the children of all different ages. It seems like we mostly attract, young women or middle-aged women, but we're open to different generations of people working in the child care, even if it's just on a part-time basis. I'd love to see, some of our, more experienced and wiser of us coming into the child care center and making a difference.
Wonderful. So what I'm also hearing is that you're saying to the major organizations and corporations around the area, that you would go to them.
I
You
would
go
come to you and help you figure out if there's a need for some sort of level of childcare in your corporation.
So with that being said, how can someone get in contact with you?
They can give me a call at 919-703-8047, or they can send me a message at info@littlemakersacademy.com, info@littlemakersacademy.com. More information is on the website, littlemakersacademy.com. We're on Instagram, and we are on Facebook at littlemakersacademy.com.
It's wonderful. Now, what was the number again, the phone number?
919-703-8047.
Wow, good information. Good information, Ms. Alice. Now, when it comes to our young adults having children, are there programs to educate the young adults with life skills to maintain and be productive? Because we find that a lot of young kids are having children. And we know in programs at your school and very well other schools as well, but the adult, the young child has to be educated.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know of programs like that, or do you provide that as well?
My mother is currently a high school teacher, and I do feel like the public school system, does a job. Do we take on a role? Because even when I taught 5th grade, we taught about health and human body development. So I know middle and high school touches on those, but I feel like more effort, could be made between conversations with parents and their child, community centers, churches. Just there needs to be conversations with teenagers about the choices that they make and how it can impact their future. They need to have a more realistic view of how their choices can affect the future, because it certainly changes things having children.
Yes, it does. Having children will definitely change. Now, another one of my personal rhetorical questions: do you believe in spankings?
So I was spanked growing up, and I feel like I turned out pretty good because of it. But it's so funny. A lot of people like me we don't really want to spank our own kids. And just wonder. I believe that there's lots of ways. I believe that there's lots of ways that we can help children without necessarily having to spank them. But again, that's a personal decision with the parents. At a child care center, we would never spank a child or do anything like that to a child. I feel like parents need to first have conversations with their kids. There should be some logical consequences. We're educated enough. There's enough books out there, articles, radio shows, podcasts, where someone can learn great techniques to redirect their child outside of spanking them. But if they go to grandma's house, they know grandma doesn't play.
Because I'm going to tell you, I got spankings.
Oh, yeah.
My grandmother didn't spank me that much, but my mother beat the brakes off me.
Yeah.
Oh, man. God. And do you think that, and we
You
just
didn't do
haven't-
it again, though, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I got spankings. My mother beat the brakes off me. And do you think it's fair for the government to get involved, or the police to get involved with parents because they spank their children?
I think there's a difference between spanking and beating and leaving bruises and marks.
Okay.
So, there's a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that, because some people don't know how to spank their children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it shouldn't be done something out of anger or, just fed up and tiredness. That's just, yeah.
And for my listeners, in response to that question, shoot me an email and tell me what you think about whether children should get spankings like they used to back in the old days, or should we not whip our kids for doing wrong? I mean, if a kid does wrong, shoot me an email about that one, because I would love to hear what people have to say about that one, because I believe in disciplinary actions with children when they step out of line. I mean, you talk to them, of course, but at some point talking doesn't work, and sometimes you have to set an example. But again, it goes back to what you said. It's how you do it. Mm-hmm. That's very, very important. Now, church daycare centers, okay. Are they the same? I mean, is it the same quality? Because we're dealing with churches, and we're dealing with, are they, I mean, I have a thing with certain facilities. There's nothing wrong with them, I guess. But I wasn't raised that way. When I came up, there wasn't churches that had daycare centers. But now people are having daycare centers everywhere. They have them in their home, at churches, and everywhere. So
I know I was invited to help reopen a child care center in the area that was a church child care, and I decided against it because that child care center had issues with unfortunately, with the churches, the doors are open to everybody, and then so there's parishioners that might not necessarily need to be around children that somehow find their way in. So, just again, parents just do their research and find what's a best fit for them.
Very important information. Again, that research is important, as you mentioned. Now, what about the wait list? We talked about that, the wait list for these schools. What can be done to prevent the long wait periods? There's got to be a solution, because I know people are waiting. Should the schools be bigger, or we need to figure something out? Because
there would probably be more schools. We probably have a need for more schools if more employers got on board with providing childcare for their employees. Probably always go back to that, because I feel like, if every hospital had a little childcare, if the tech companies and the pharmaceutical companies and the call centers had a space for the children, whether it's on-site or nearby through a consortium agreement of different businesses, it would sort of help that problem. And it would help the parents that are stressed out in the morning having to go to 3 different places to drop off their kids.
It's wonderful. So how would you facilitate this now if you were called to come out to an organization to set this program up? Would you send your teachers there? How would you do that?
We would do a survey first to see what the need would be, to see if it's just a need maybe for a small nursery. It could be, a small area with just, 10 infants or something, and, sort of do a site-based, needs-based survey to see what the need is and kind of go from there. And, we would obviously hire and train teachers to work in that space and, set up the space in a way that indemnifies risk for the business. So just making sure it's a safe, secure space where the kids would be on or near site from where their parents work.
I think that's a wonderful idea. I really do, because companies need that, and this sounds like a good niche. I mean, that's something I hadn't thought about that, but I think you're on to something. I think that's a wonderful idea for major corporations, because what it does, it eliminates the trouble for their employees missing work and things of that nature, and worrying about their child. Now, this is another question that I find going on in the school systems, and very well academies as well. Security in schools. Do you think that guns are important to have in schools to protect the child as well as the teacher? Because they're talking about guns in schools, and then you have some single parents that may want to come and take their child out of daycare. You got some people want custody. They may want to run up in the school. Do you think it's fair to have guns in school?
I do think there needs to be some level of security in the school. I'm not necessarily saying every teacher needs to have a firearm, but I do think there should be someone, the public doesn't necessarily need to know where it is, how many are there, but I definitely think there needs to be something at the school to protect the students and teachers and the staff in the case of an emergency.
So in other words, some form of security, because you never know. Yeah. Because there are some crazy people out here nowadays, and you're trying to kidnap kids and coming into the school. And so having a good security system is important.
It is very important.
And that's as well as for home security. People security. So, wow. Now, transportation to your school, because perhaps some parents may not have transportation. How do you facilitate that?
There is bus. We're right off of the bus line. We have worked with the city's transportation to have that bus moved so it's in a safer, at a crosswalk area in conjunction to the school. So, mass transportation, transit is very important to the safety and the moving around of, some of the parents.
Now, I'm going to start, and entrepreneurs such as yourself, a normal day for you. When you wake up in the morning, a normal day for you, how you start your day off and get to the school and everything. Tell me how your day starts.
How does my day start? I wake up, might spend some time like reading a devotional and, just kind of getting my mind set and just looking over my to-do list and making breakfast for the kids, getting them off to school. And then, might go into the Child Care Center. I do have wonderful directors and assistant directors that help me at the Child Care Center. So sometimes, for example, for today, I'm going to meet with my mentor at the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center to go over financial projections and ordering supplies. I might work with Smart Start. They're helping us with a grant for new materials. So, I'm a lot of times, getting new supplies, getting new trainings in place for the teachers that are there. So, I mean, each day is sort of different, just depending on what needs to get done. Visiting other centers, working and opening the next center.
Now, just like any profession, with doctors or nurses, teachers, there's always upgrading and changing of laws and rules and regulations. And is it important to stay on top of that as well as programs? Do you have to constantly be enlightened about them?
Yes, because childcare is heavily regulated by the division, and they're constantly updating the laws. And sometimes we don't get those updates. So it's up to us to kind of look out for that information. I'm part of an organization called Southeast Raleigh Childcare Directors and Owners, and so we meet monthly and sort of encourage and help each other out with some of the changes that are coming along and how we can better prepare ourselves.
That's good information. Now, funding, and there's probably a fee for the child to go to your school. Is there any other funding sources that you can facilitate or you're open for?
There is a subsidy for children whose parents might be a single parent home or family can't afford childcare based on their income. Parents can apply for that subsidy voucher for the child to attend childcare. And that's pretty much where the funds come from parents, private pay, or from subsidy.
And if I were to go to look for a school for my child as well, just like a restaurant, you go to a restaurant, you see the inspection code on the wall.
Oh yeah, we have those.
Is that a such thing that's something to look for?
Yes, we have a superior rating for sanitation that's posted up there. We have our child care license, which shows that we're regulated by the state. There's also, there's different things you can look for.
So that's one of the, again, those are the things that people need to look for when they go to put their child in a center. So if I go to a center like that and I don't see that code up there and they don't have one, so obviously it's a possibility they may not be
licensed. Yeah.
Wow. So this license thing is serious.
It is very serious. Yes.
Have you ever had an instance where you saw someone that wasn't licensed and to do this type of stuff?
There's unlicensed home daycares and different things like that, but it's been years since I've really seen anything like that.
Wow, that's some good information. Once again, Ms. Nelson, tell me again, how can someone get in contact with you?
Again, I'm here in the Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill area. I can be reached at info@littlemakersacademy.com. Any businesses that are interested in finding out more about these services for their employees can visit www.littlemakersacademy.com. That's littlemakersacademy.com. It's a great way to attract talent, incentivize your employees, retain employees, and just overall boost company morale and helping employees have that wonderful work-life balance. Again, we're on Instagram, Little Makers Academy, and Facebook. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely wonderful. So what I'm hearing is that for these major companies and organizations, Ms. Nelson, her organization, her company will come to you and do an evaluation, do a survey, and find out what it is you need.
Yes.
And this would very well possibly help your organization.
Help your organization, and it's incentivized through taxes as well.
Ain't that something? Sound like some good information, Ms. Nelson. Once again, thank you for being here. I really appreciate
All right,
that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Once again, we had a good conversation today. We was joined today in the studio with Miss Alice Nelson. Miss Nelson is a third-generation licensed school administrator, K-6 elementary and K-12 special education general curriculum teacher with a passion for seeing all kids develop into their highest potential. She's also the CEO and founder of Little Makers Academy located in Raleigh, North Carolina. And today our topic was the importance of early childhood development. Of course, we touched a lot of informative questions, but hey, she has a good thing going on, I believe, from the sound of it and the looks of it. Hey, I think this is something that major organizations and companies should take a look at, because very well help to retain your employees and keep them at work. So you have to worry about them leaving work, going home to check on the child at a particular facility. It'd be right at your company. Once again, I'm your host, Gary Jones. Thanks for tuning in to Get With The Program radio show. If you want to be a guest on the show, log in to www.getwiththeprogram.biz. Shoot me an email, leave me a message. You never know, you may have a conversation that we would love to talk about. As always, I say keep your head up, stay positive, and remember to
Get with the program.
What you talking about?
The program. The program. Get with the program.
Everybody clap to this.
Say what? Get with the program.
It starts now.